Welcome to this week's community group session. Today we're going to focus on a chakra tuning. So that's what the focus of the session is going to be. And then there'll be an opportunity to explore your questions or reflections. And first and foremost, we're going to open with a little divine connecting breath. But before I say anything else, divine connecting breath, of course, is a guided meditation to support you from what for most people is a default state in separation to beginning to open up and experience on a direct visceral level that is felt in the body experience of who we are in our wholeness. And that's a guided meditation, and then we'll open into transmission at the point when I say, let's begin. If this is your first time to the channel, I invite you to subscribe if you haven't already, to click the bell to be notified. And depending on which platform you're on, you may be wondering, well, how do I subscribe on this platform? There's a link in the description on every place that this video is going out to, that if you click on will subscribe you to my YouTube channel, and then you'll be notified every time I go live. It's an honor to be with you. Welcome to everyone who's tuning in live, and also those of you who are tuning into the replay. It's always an incredible opportunity to sit and sink in together. And that's certainly our focus for the Wednesday broadcast here. It's just a few minutes after, or maybe a minute or so after 5 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, the 13th of May, as we open into our time together today, inviting you to close your eyes and begin breathing in and out through the nostrils with your palms to the sky. As always, please don't operate a motor vehicle or heavy equipment of any sort during this or any time we're together. As you may have already experienced, it's not safe to do so. You never know when you're going to drop out, which many people report as an experience of going to sleep. I don't think you're going to sleep, but maybe dropping to a deeper state of consciousness where your conscious mind isn't as aware as you might think it is right now. In some ways, and in other ways, maybe just doing some very, very deep work that is difficult to put into words. So please do set everything else aside, if you would now. And as we begin making our way energetically into this circle that stretches around the planet, people coming together from many different backgrounds and beliefs and perspectives, all of us gathering to open up to a deeper experience of the divine within. Let's do a little breathing, shall we? Deep breath in and hold. And as you begin releasing this breath now, letting go of everything that has come before in this day, all the way out to the count of 8. And in particular, as you're letting go of this breath, I invite you to release those things that have been held from the perspective of separation and disempowerment, the disempowered separate self. Just let go of all of that and whatever else is coming up for you, of course. Another deep breath in and hold. And as you begin releasing this breath now, letting go of everything that has come before since we last gathered together. And if this is your first time, just since the beginning of the year, all the way out to the count of 8. And with this breath, I invite you to let go of everything that has been held and expressed from the perspective of your empowered separate self. Now at the level of the head and the heart, all the way out to the count of 8. Another deep breath in and hold. As you begin releasing this breath now out to the count of 8, letting go of everything that has come before since you were born. And with that, all the experiences that you're familiar with of your whole yet separate self at the level of your being. Those experiences that you have encountered on the other side of surrender. Another deep breath in and hold. As you begin releasing this breath now, letting go of everything that has come before since the inception of your soul, all the way out to the count of 8. And with that, whatever awareness or experiences have come to you in your innate wholeness from the experience of union consciousness, all the way out to the count of 8, from the existence that expresses as your being, your feeling, and your thinking. And just notice in your mind's eye or on your intuitive screen the cue of breath. You breathe in a unit, it's replaced at the back of the cue with another unit of breath. The breath is serving you without any condition or criteria. No questions. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how you've behaved today or yesterday or last week or 10 years ago. Doesn't matter what you believe. Doesn't matter what you've done to yourself or other people. The breath flows in and serves you. And if you become aware of that cue of breath, you may notice a color beginning to infuse itself, almost like a food coloring dropper that's dropping into a pitcher of water. But this color is into the cue of breath. And as it spreads, you may notice a static color or perhaps a dynamic color, one that changes of its own accord. If you're assigning a color, I invite you to pick something that is not normally present in your physical body, except perhaps in your eyes. And as you continue breathing in and out at whatever cadence is natural and normal for you right now, with the next breath in, I invite you to be with the breath from the perspective of the color as you move in through the nostrils, up towards the crown, and then down into the lungs. And as you settle into the lungs, just notice as you sit there and perhaps even move time forward just a little bit faster. The breath comes in, the color then moves through the lining of the lungs into the bloodstream. And if you step time forward very gently, you'll notice that color just begins to spread throughout your entire body until eventually every cell in your being is imbued with that color. And from this, we can make a very simple observation and statement. The breath is becoming you, and you are becoming the breath. And just be with your own experience and notice when the intuitive yes, the visceral yes in your body comes up, and all the different levels of your being. It may be very subtle, may not be able to experience it. It's fine. Whatever's showing up for you is perfect. But you might consider rationally, well, sure, breath becoming me, I'm becoming the breath. That makes sense. Oxygen, lungs, bloodstream, cells. You might see that vector, that movement of color into the body. You might feel it. There might be a resonance, a physical sensation in your body that you're familiar with, or perhaps it's new that you associate with a yes, or maybe you don't know that it's a yes. Maybe you feel nothing. Whatever is coming up for you is perfect. The breath is becoming you, and you are becoming the breath. And if we step back in our perceptual view of things, it's not just this breath and this cue that interact with you, it's also the breath of the planet that serves you, the others in the dwelling where you are, perhaps your neighbors and your neighbors' neighbors, and it just spreads outward from there. As this awareness begins to expand, perhaps you become aware that with each breath you are connected to all of these people directly. And in the times that we're living in right now, that awareness might create a little bit of constriction within your body. Ooh, I don't know if I want to share the breath with all these people. After all, the breath is one of the ways that the coronavirus spreads. But on this level, on this awareness, it's not the particulars that you are receiving and giving to other people. It's not whether they're infected or not, or whether you are or not. That's not what's being shared. It's the breath. Maybe these people agree with you. If you expand out, inevitably you'll get to a point where there are lots of people who see the world the way you do, perhaps, and lots of people who don't see the world the way you do. And eventually, that breath of the planet actually is serving every single person on the planet right now. With each breath, you are directly connected to all these people. Inevitably, there are some people on the planet right now, perhaps that you don't resonate with at all. Maybe you think they are up to no good. Maybe something really bad, even. Still, the breath that they breathe is the same breath you breathe. There is an innate connection between us all. Even if we perceive ourselves as separate from others, still there is at least the breath that we share in common. And this breath isn't just about those people that are alive today. It's everyone who has ever lived and everyone who will ever live. The breath of the planet serves them the same as it serves you. And with your breath, you are connected to each and every one of these people. Indeed, the breath of the planet doesn't just serve the people, it serves everything: animals, plants, insects, water, fish, trees, dirt, rocks, everything. Indeed, with each breath, you are connected to everyone and everything above, upon, and within the planet itself. You may even feel that resonant yes and see it on all the different levels of awareness, perhaps some that you are very familiar with, and perhaps others that are new. And perhaps you're just listening to what I'm saying and the thought is occurring. I don't know. I don't see anything or feel anything. Whatever is coming up for you is perfect. At some point, the breath of the planet expands out, for at the very edge of our atmosphere, that breath touches space and in turn, eventually every other aspect of the entire cosmos. And so we can say with each breath, you are connected to everyone and everything throughout the entirety of the cosmos, including that energy that underwrites everything else. Let's call it the divine, a light perhaps at a great distance initially, yet with each breath that you draw in, perhaps you can perceive that light coming closer and closer. Eventually, close enough that you can perceive those twin frequencies that together express as this divine light, the divine essence itself, and the frequency of perfect health. Not just perfect health as we understand it as human beings, physical, emotional, spiritual, mental, and so on, but every iteration known and unknown. These twin energies intertwine such that there is no separating one from the other, and where one is present, so too the other. And as you can perceive and experience with the breath of the cosmos, the divine is in everyone and everything, including you. Perhaps you can feel initially as that light enters your body, initially at the nostrils, and then instantaneously throughout your entire being. The invitation extended on behalf of this light to each of the smallest aspects of you on every level, known and unknown. Each of the smallest aspects, come return to your natural state of alignment and resonance. And with that, the artifacts of dissonance appearing to fall away and gather at that universal drain. For whatever remains in separation, I invite you to remove the universal plug. I'll do the same. The divine is becoming you, and you are becoming the divine. The breath is becoming you, and you are becoming the breath. The river is flowing. The river is flowing. The river is flowing. Let's begin. Today, I'm going to support you in tuning your chakras. And so I'm just going to use the traditional 7 primary chakras, and I'm just going to refer to them by number. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, it doesn't matter. You don't need to know anything. This is all about experience anyway. This isn't about thinking. If thoughts are coming up, it's okay. It's fine. The mind is an important and effective resource. If those thoughts drift into the past or the future, we're not present. And so perhaps if you feel compelled, you might just remind yourself with each breath, you are connected to everyone and everything. The river is flowing. The divine is becoming you, and you are becoming the divine. And with that, you may even feel it now. This resonance expands and expresses through every aspect of your being, and those thoughts begin to drift away. You can also, if you'd like, pay attention to the breath. The breath is coming in, up to the crown, down into the lungs. You could just follow that if you'd like. Just be with whatever is coming up for you. And most importantly, feel fully whatever comes up as we do this. I'm Likely, I don't know. I'm not anticipating saying a whole lot. I might say some numbers, but that's possibly about it, unless I'm guided otherwise. The numbers are just a reference point. If you know what they mean, that's fine. They're just a reference to the number of the chakra. What I mean to say is at that point, I'm tuning that chakra. And in fact, if you're sitting here in the circle, I really would ask you just be with your own energy. It's essential. Don't try to send energy to anyone else in the circle or anyone else out in the world. If you'd like to share the experience with somebody you love and care about or your community, you're welcome to share the video, no problem at all. But as for now, just be within yourself, receive the experience. Set aside your intentions as well. Oftentimes, we have intentions. I'd like this to happen. I want this healed. I want this to take place in my life. Let's do this. God, can we make this happen, etc. From my perspective, those types of things, although wonderful and extraordinary to explore, can be a little bit of a limitation in this dynamic when we're in transmission together. And so I can illustrate that for you in our conversation when we're in the more interactive portion. But for now, I'm just going to ask you to trust me. It's already a bit of a leap of faith to sit in the circle. If you're brand new, welcome. Glad you're here. If you've been sitting in circles with me for the last decade or longer, glad to have you back. It's wonderful to be with you again. You'll know, and for those that are new, there's an opportunity to really open up and go to some new experience without attachment, without projecting it, without thinking you know what it is. So, if you're open to it, release those attachments and those intentions. Let go of them entirely and just be in the unknown present and feel. There are emotions that come up. I invite you to feel them fully. If there's discomfort in the body, I invite you to feel them fully. Quick explanation. Let's call these unexpressed traumas or wounds, things that are held in your field that are incomplete. And by feeling them more fully now, to the degree to which you're able to feel them fully, they will transmute during this transmission. The way to test that out is to allow yourself to feel them. Okay, beyond that, no more instruction. Make sure you drink lots of water or whatever way you like to hydrate. As we go, we're doing some deep work, even if it doesn't feel like it or seem like it. There's a lot going on at a much deeper level, energetically or spiritually. Let's just take another deep breath in and release all of these instructions to be fully present. Deep breath in and hold. And as you begin releasing this breath, let go of the idea that there's anything to understand or feel or even be, and open up to the divine within you. 7. You don't need to push on things getting tuned up. They actually tune much better if you don't push. Let go of intention. If you run energy a certain way or you do something to do a chakra tuning, it's an opportunity to receive. See if you can let go of that. It'd be like going into a massage therapist and trying to figure out how to get your hands around your back so that you can participate and show them do this, versus just going to somebody that you really want to receive from. So you're off the hook. This is assuming you're a massage therapist yourself in this example. Here, you can just receive. 7. 7. 6. You may be surprised by the sensations or the things that are coming up to be felt or the emotions. Just be with them wherever they are in your body. You may be having an experience of absolutely nothing coming up. That's okay. It's perfect. If you know something about the chakras and the experience you're having doesn't match with what you know about the chakra being tuned, don't worry about it. Just be with the experience. 6. Hmm. 5. Hmm. 4. Beautiful work. I'm noticing waves of resonance moving through the body. One just went through. And uh, again, it may be showing up for you. There's another one there. It may be showing up for you and it may not. It's um, be with your experience, of course. If you're feeling that though, it's not that there's something wrong going on. The other thing is that as we're descending, it's possible that in addition to feeling or sensation or emotion coming up, that also a sense of heaviness, like gravity being turned up, is increasing as we descend. And that's perfectly normal. It might be a sensation that you associate with sort of an adverse dynamic or something to be concerned about. In this context, it's actually a sign of resonance. It's a deeper level of embodiment. And we can talk more about it in our interactive time here in a few minutes once we're through the primary tuning. 4. Another big wave there. Beautiful. 3. Mm. If you feel resistance coming up in whatever form, no need to push on it. It will resolve itself. Every part of your system, every part of your being, and the vessel of your body was designed to work really powerfully with itself. And as everything comes back into a state of resonance, That flow, that alignment begins expressing on many different levels. Sometimes it's very quick. Sometimes it can take a while. Sometimes some noise shows up. Just feel whatever there is to feel, including nothing. Hmm. Here we go. A lot of resonance up in the crown, interestingly enough, too. If you're feeling that, it's part of what's unfolding. 3. Hmm. Beautiful. 2. Mm-hmm. 2. Beautiful. Some stuff coming up to integrate here. That's perfect. Just be with whatever's unfolding. Mm. Beautiful. 1. One. Hmm. From here, there's a lot of integration that is beginning to take place, and that will continue forward until I wrap up this transmission for today. In just a few moments, I want to invite you if there are questions or reflections coming up, or if you'd just like to check in and say hi. We are, after all, sitting in a community circle with people from around the world. I noticed earlier Barbara was saying hi, made it live from Perth, Western Australia. Glad you're here, Barbara. Thanks for joining. And Robert is saying hi, Ken. Hi, Robert. Glad you're here. The only place that I can't see comments coming in from live is from my personal Facebook page. So if anyone's there and you want to comment, have me respond, or ask a question and have me respond during the live broadcast, then you'll need to go over to my professional page, which is Ken Stone Spiritual Teacher. If you just put that in the search bar, it'll come right up. Same live stream is available there, and you'll be able to comment. Folks on YouTube can comment there, and folks on Twitter as well. If there are any questions coming up, happy to sit in silence as well. I shared from my heart today that I really, as compelling as answering questions and teaching and talking about stuff is to me, and as exciting as it is, it always leads in an amazing place, new things to explore, new things to integrate, all sorts of different perspectives to encounter along the way, and so on. I really believe that the most profound thing that I can do is just get out of the way and let God's expression through me, as me, in transmission be shared. And that really is, at the end of the day, much more meaningful than anything I could say. But it is always nice to say hi. And if there are questions coming up, we have some time to explore them. Gary is saying hi. Another great session. Thank you so much. Love you, Gary. Thank you. And Mike is saying hi from France. How fun, Mike. Thanks for checking in and letting me know where you're from. I thought I saw the Gary and Mike are on YouTube. Really appreciate you both being part of the community and part of this circle. If this is your first time and you wonder, well, what is this all about? This is all about an experience of sinking in and actually encountering the divine within. This is one of the things that happens as sort of a natural byproduct when I'm in session or in transmission with a group. Things begin taking place in the body, things that are spontaneous. And I'm happy to explore that in greater depth if it's of interest, but I'm also happy to just sit and be with you. If there are questions coming up, happy to answer them. Would love to hear from you. If you don't say hi, I don't have any way of acknowledging or thanking you. I'm using a piece of software or an interface. Gary's saying hi from Twitter now too. Thank you, Gary. I really appreciate you and your focus on making sure everything's working, man. It is so helpful to me to know that it's all working the way it's supposed to. It's always kind of a miracle, I'm on this website, I click a button and boop, it goes out to all these places. So exciting. Sitting here in my writing studio in my home, sharing time with you all. Such an honor to be with you. Susan is saying hi from Toronto. If you are new, maybe a greater explanation of Susan says, I'm with you even when I'm not with you, LOL. Exactly. That's true of all of us. There's no way we can't be together. we're, we're all individuated expressions of one. uh, it's so what I was trying to say before I looked down and saw Susan's comment coming in uh, from YouTube. Just a simple orientation. Let's say life happens up here. It appears to happen up here at the surface. If we use the ocean as a metaphor, right? The ocean could be choppy, could be smooth. And if it's choppy, maybe we're thinking, choppy things are happening to me. How do I fix this? What can I do? How do I get this right? How do I come into an experience of God's favor? And if things are smooth, maybe we're thinking, oh yeah, I did it right. I followed the rules. And if we sink down a little bit, still there's the light is filtering down. I read an article yesterday that said that light comes down from the surface for 1,000, I can't remember, I think it was yards. 1,000 yards or meters. They're close to each other, even though most of the world's on meters. Whatever it is, let's say it's 1,000 meters. Okay, so for that next 1,000 meters, that part of our lives, it looks like the light is coming down from above. And when we are in this level of the ocean, we're thinking, I'm creating this. This is my reality to create. It's a really compelling perspective. It's different from being up here. Things are happening to me up here. Down here, I'm creating this. I'm the author of my life. And then there's a deeper level beneath which it's dark. It's a little scary. What's going to happen when we go down there? And this is now we've moved from the thinking level, or things are happening to me, to the feeling level, I'm creating this, to now we move down to the being level. We move into the darkness. And what we find in the darkness is the light, rather than coming from an external source, is coming from within. And in this being state, we've gone from head and heart now to hips and the body. In this being state, there's this extraordinary expression of light that begins emanating out. And at this level where the light no longer shines down but comes from within, it's very still and calm. Even if it's just crazy seas and choppy storm and all sorts of stuff going on up at the surface, down here, things are calm and deeply resonant. Same exact ocean, just very different perspective, very different experience. It's not an experience that this is my experience. I'm having a calm experience. I'm happy, healthy, wealthy. I'm not knocking these things. Mantras are powerful and important parts of life for many people. I'm simply saying down here in this deeper experience is being. And in this being experience, when we sink down here, something really profoundly different begins to take place. We begin to experience the divine as you, the divine expressing in you. And in this space, we don't have to have intention. In fact, intention is a form of a stop sign in this space. It's like saying to God, stop, I got this covered. But when we put the stop sign down, this flow, this movement begins to express this incredible resonance. And it's not just in our thinking or our feeling, it's in our very being. It begins to radically impact every part of our life in a really sort of foundational way. We can talk more about it if it's of interest to you. That's the level that we're beginning to encounter anytime we're in transmission together. This is really, I think, if I were to try to articulate maybe the one thing that God does through me, more than any other one thing, it's the experience of that space at and below this encounter with our innate wholeness, this light within, the divine within. And the beauty about all of this is this fits within the context of whatever your religious or spiritual tradition and perspective are. People are coming together to be part of this circle from all these different, the major religions and other religious and spiritual perspectives. People have no religious or spiritual beliefs or insight. It's the experience here. It's not about a belief. We're not in the thinking dynamic. We're not in the feeling dynamic, although there may be thoughts happening and feelings happening. Most essentially, we're in the being dynamic, this being experience. And it's available all the time. There are actually opportunities for us to sink in at a deeper level as well and explore more fully. If that's of interest to you, I can share that with you, and I will before we wrap up. There's an opportunity coming up for a deep dive workshop if you'd like to be part of that. The goal with the deep dive workshop is just to offer an even deeper experience of what is available for free every Wednesday. So if this is meeting your needs and opening up an experience for you, beautiful. Come here. I would love for you to be part of this each week. Be part of the community, be engaged, ask questions, etc. Such an honor to be part of your life in this way. If you'd like to go into a deeper experience of this, we do a deep dive workshop. I facilitate that virtually every other week. So dive, can't remember, is deep dive 5 or 6 coming up? Whatever it is, it's next Thursday. But they're every other week. And for $97, you can be part of the deep dive. Every deep dive I do every other week is to have that experience if it resonates. And if you'd like to have a free experience, great. We do this every Wednesday. Okay, Clint is asking, oh, Sherry is saying hello from the big deep. Awesome, Sherry. Clint's asking a question. I'm just going to put it up. I haven't even read it yet. Can you say something about the difference between separation as opposed to connected autonomy? Sure, Clint. That's a really interesting question. Yeah, so connected autonomy. So there's kind of this continuum. Ooh, I kind of want to draw a picture. Can I draw a picture? Let me just set aside my keyboard here so I don't accidentally turn off the. Let me see if I can share my little sketch pad on my iPad. Let's see if I can draw a picture on this. Ta-da! And I'm going to put your question down, Clint, but I'm going to look at it over here. So let's say there's this continuum. Oops, my mouse over it. Say something about the difference between separation. So there's this continuum, right? And on this end of the continuum is separation. And on this end of the continuum is wholeness. Oops. I didn't think that through. Let me do it here. Wholeness. Okay. And so in these differentiation points are these different experiences of consciousness, which we've talked about before, Clint, but just for everyone who is tuning in the first time, one of the ways that I talk about consciousness is it's interesting because there's sort of an evolution in my awareness about the kind of language I want to use to describe this, but let's just leave it sort of distilled down to numbers for now. So up at the surface is an experience of stage 1 consciousness. That first 1,000 feet is an experience of stage 2. Deeper is an experience of stage 3. And even deeper is an experience of stage 4. So this is a dynamic of, and everything that's happening from here down is in some, whoops, that's supposed to be an arrow. Everything that's happening from there down is an experience that's in some way separate. Here, it's separate and whole. Here, it's separate and empowered. Here, it's separate and disempowered. So you're asking about the difference between separation as opposed to connected autonomy, but I guess the experience of connected autonomy, let me just try to clarify what I think you're saying here, and I can see the live feed, Clint, so if you have things that you want to try to clarify or correct me on or whatever, please jump in here. But what I'm interpreting your meaning to say is that in the experience of one's wholeness, having an experience as an autonomous being still. And I have quite, let me say it differently. I want to be careful. So I want to stay in a place of absolute humility and vulnerability. I'm not trying to say that I'm living my life over here in union consciousness. I have had many different experiences, some brief, some fairly extensive, of embodied union. And it's very difficult for me to say to what degree or how far into this experience I've had. But what I can say is that the experiences that I've had so far have all been individuated. And what I mean by that is that I am still present. I am still expressing as, in your language, connected autonomy. But the autonomy piece is, I mean, this is where we get with spirituality. Very quickly, if we get down to brass tacks, we start trying to define terms in these ways that become ever more esoteric and sort of difficult to grasp a hold of. If what you mean by autonomy is I still am experiencing myself, or one is still experiencing oneself as an expression of an individuated human being, well, I think this can happen maybe even through the totality of union consciousness, all the way here. Certainly, there are some people who, the language I use, and I don't mean this in some sort of, it's difficult to use language at all in union consciousness to describe anything, because language itself is born of separation. And so what we find is that people who are teaching or giving direction or so on, reflecting on union consciousness, are speaking in parable or in allegory or in metaphor, and or they're sharing personal narrative, but their personal narrative is a description more of their journey into union most of the time. And so there's no possible way to speak specifically of something in union using words without speaking in these other ways, metaphorically and so on. So when I use the words off the back end, what I'm trying to refer to, it's obviously not a correct way of describing it. But what I'm saying is that there is an experience that people have where they sort of drop off of this experience of individuation, which is going on here, and they're having an undifferentiated experience. And this is very, very disorienting for many, many people. If it's not a momentary or an exploration that is a sort of a conscious choice, it can be phenomenally disorienting. And as I'm saying this, I'm having this awareness, this realization, which I'm confident we all have an awareness of some level, that that some people with what would be classified as mental illness are actually just having experiences of different stages of consciousness, or different experiences in union consciousness. Perhaps the bulk of them are in this undifferentiated dynamic. And in that undifferentiated dynamic, there can be a loss of reference. So in any case, why are these experiences separate? Well, here it's separate and whole because there is a dynamic of, oops, my handwriting is very special today. It's special most days. There's a dynamic of surrender. Here, separation is kicked up even more because there is a dynamic of empowerment going on. And what is happening is the empowered separate self is hard at work. So I would say there can be experiences, I guess, of autonomous and connected, because in the empowered separate self, we have all sorts of really profound metaphysics going on, like a group of people or an individual holding an intention around something happening in a body, in someone else's body at a cellular level or whatever, and microscopes or electron microscopes being able to show that change happening. Well, that change couldn't be happening if there wasn't some connection there. But it's in the empowered separate self, that's how I describe it. I refer to the stage of consciousness, as you know, Clint, for those that don't, I've referred to it before as controlling or manifestor consciousness, because in this consciousness, God is our servant. We're directing the divine, but there's still a connected component to it. And here in the disempowered separate self, I've referred to this as victim consciousness, which is, from my perspective, phenomenally illuminating in terms of looking at myself. But if I'm talking about someone else or answering a question about somebody else, or we're discussing a hypothetical scenario, I've realized just in the last week that that could sound almost like someone's being condemned, like we're condemning them. You're in this box of victim consciousness. And so I think there needs to be a different way to refer to that. Historically, I would just refer to it as stage one consciousness. There's no condemnation associated with referring to it as stage one. So anyway, there's stage one, disempowered. It's a very disconnected state. There's a profound sense of disconnection from self, from other, and from the divine, which is why that dynamic of victim consciousness is so dominant. So Clint, I hope I've answered the question in some measure. I haven't seen any follow-up from you or any other comments come in. So perhaps we're all in a stupor as I'm talking. But I'll look for further comments to see if there are questions coming up or follow-up about this, or really anything else that you'd like to explore. And if you're on the line and you're watching the replay, and you're wondering, well, geez, what happens to my comments? I won't see them obviously as this is unfolding, as this is happening live, but I check in on comments regularly on Facebook and on YouTube, and I check in on Twitter too. It's a little confusing sometimes how to see where those comments are coming from, but certainly in YouTube and in Facebook, I'm responding to those oftentimes on a daily basis. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to connect in that way with you if you're watching the replay. And of course, everyone who's on the line live would love to hear from you if there are things coming up. And it may be that this is the perfect place for us to wrap up for today. And if that's the case, what an honor it has been to sit with you. I'll sit for just another couple of minutes. Let me grab the link to the deep dive while I'm thinking about it. I'll put that up. Whoops, didn't mean to bump into the computer. Make sure I didn't knock the, yeah. So I'll put the link up, and then, I'm going to do some other things too in the description. This was kind of coming in for me earlier. I'll put a link in the description so you can actually download the audio of the primary part of this transmission of divine connecting breath and the chakra tuning. So I'll put a link there, and you just click that, put your name and email address in, and then you'll receive that in your inbox. And then you can download it for free and put it on your phone. And then you can utilize that transmission as a resource in tuning your chakras on a regular basis, and begin to explore how that impacts the way that you're interacting in your life. I've made reference to it in my Friday sort of spiritual messenger tips email, or not email, but video last Friday, about how if there's just one quick adjustment that you can make that could radically change kind of the impact and the momentum of your other modalities that you're applying, or maybe you're just exploring the raw expression of the divine as you. Tuning your chakras and doing it in reverse, that is from the crown down to the first in the perineum, it makes a phenomenal difference, because that is the pathway. The soul disembodies, it comes up this way. It's an illusory dynamic, but in the illusion of separation, in that dynamic that Julie's saying, no stupor, Ken, just the deep river flowing. In that dynamic of sinking into being presence, there is this opening to this extraordinary, actually, as Julie said, this extraordinary flow, and something profoundly different begins to happen. And so in this illusory dynamic of soul embodiment, what I mean illusory, we're actually fully embodied, we're actually fully enlightened. In the experience at that end of the continuum, I don't know which end of the screen, was it over here or over here, but wherever it was in the drawing, it was in union consciousness, when we're open and no separation anymore, having this experience. The divine and I are one. It's not even that, though, because that implies separation. Are one. I have to say the divine and I are one. Don't have to say that. Having a different experience. No way to really speak of it. The river The sea, the entire water cycle is as one. The entire planet is as one. The entire cosmos and organism breathing, expanding, and contracting as one. Each cell in your body, a component of one organism. Your body, a component of the organism of humanity, as one expression of divinity, with the birds and the trees. We are not separate from each other. We are not separate from ourselves. We are not separate from the divine. We are not separate from our planet. All of this is one. We are all one. So when we support that natural movement of the soul coming home in the way that we tune our chakras, it can result in a profoundly different and much more deeply resonant experience in the day-to-day of our lives, and how we show up for ourselves, the kind of resources that are available in throughout the day, and the way we show up and engage with other people as well. Yeah. Judy's saying hi. Just saying hi. Really deep today. Amen. Feels that way to me too. Judy, thank you for being here. Glad you said hi. I really appreciate you being here, being part of the community, and for the opportunity to sit with you. So I don't have the link ready yet, but you can check back and look in the description. I don't know if I can edit the description on Facebook, truth be told. So you may have to go to the YouTube to get the download. The good news is that on Facebook, in the description, there's a link. Subscribe and experience the divine within, or something like that. And then there's a bit.ly link there. If you click that link, it will, if you agree, after you click the link, you'll become a subscriber to my YouTube channel. And then if you click the bell, you'll be notified with that subscription. I don't know how to, or even if I can modify the description, and I wouldn't know what to do on Twitter either. So with apologies to folks on Facebook and Twitter who prefer those platforms, I do know how to modify the description on YouTube, and I will modify it. I just, it'll happen, in the next couple of days. Many times over the years, I've had this question come up. Okay, this is great, Ken. This feels wonderful. Now what? Now more of this. Okay, that's great, but I got to get back to living my life. I want to have a better relationship with my partner. What do I do about that? Come here, sink in. Okay, Ken, it's like you're a broken record. Why do you keep saying the same thing? Because when you have this experience of who you really are, I mean, we're not in, this is, I mean, let me say this differently. I don't know what your experience is. I don't even want to pretend to know or describe it or name it for you. My perception is that we're sinking down into that part of the depth of your being presence, where the only source of light is from within you, wherever it is in that continuum, whether it's in stage 3 or stage 4, I don't know. It doesn't matter, right? We're having that deeper experience. That's what's going on here. And when we anchor to that again and again and again, and another way of saying is that we're integrating it when that's embodied. That is to say, when no matter what's going on in our lives, we're having that experience, or when we're not having that experience, we're recognizing, oh, there's this thing coming up to integrate, which is part of my instructions or my suggestion at the beginning of the session was, if you're feeling something, just allow yourself to express it, allow yourself to feel it. It's okay to, it's not just okay to be messy. We are messy as human beings. I mean, if you're on my email list, then you heard about my messiness in today's email. If you're not, you can go over to kenwstone.com/newsletter and sign up. Or I haven't posted the blog yet because I've been busy with other stuff today, but I'll put it up as a blog too. You can find it on the blog. But the point is, we're the process of integrating sometimes is really messy. Sometimes it involves epic meltdowns. That's been true for me in the last couple of days, the last couple of weeks. And I don't want to pretend that it's other than that. I don't, it doesn't feel authentic or genuine on any level of my expression to pretend that that's not happening for me. I cry. Um, I I would be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed with some of the ways that I melted down yesterday. Um, I don't even want to try to hold any of that back. My goal is to walk with you, is for us to open up to who we are, to have this profound experience of this in some way together, not just to see the beauty that is the embodied divine in all of the different people all around the world, but also to recognize that this unique expression that is you, that is who you are, is so beautiful and wonderful, and that there's no perfection in that expression. Perfection is an artifact of what the empowered separate self thinks. And when we get caught in dynamics where perfection is showing up, or we're thinking we need to be perfect, geez, I was there, no doubt, without a doubt, over the last week. Oh my goodness, hugely there. Then it's just this opportunity to integrate. And how do we integrate? We feel those feelings that are coming up to be felt even as we sink into this embodied experience. That's where the transmutation, there's the alchemy. It's so, in a way, it's so simple and so profound, and and so accessible. And so coming back to the original question, how do we sort of change our lives? How do we have an impact on these sort of outward experiences? It's to sink deeper inward again and again and again. That this experience where the source of the light is within you, where that's the dominant perspective, and as that integrates into your life, everything changes. And we can talk more about that if you have questions. Yeah. Ah, Rabbi Kalish, thank you for checking in. It's wonderful to be with you, saying hi on, what is that called? YouTube. My brain was so wonderful to be with you. Thank you. The answers to all the questions that we wonder, that we ask in separation, are here in the depth. How do we get to the peace of God? Here we can feel it, we can experience it. We don't even have to really think about it. We don't have to understand it, it just is. Here we are restored, recharged, energized, calmed down. Here, spontaneously, we are healed, but we're not here to be healed, but we are. It's okay. Wherever, whatever your motivation is for coming here, maybe you stumbled into this. I wonder what this guy is talking about. Who is this character? It's for me, and I want to really always be focused on this, but especially today, in light of my last week. The most important part of this experience is your encounter with the divine. It's what's coming up for you. It's your relationship. It doesn't really matter what I think that relationship means or what it feels like or any of that. I mean, maybe it's helpful, but maybe not. Just be with your own experience. Another thing that happens in the deep dive workshop is we have conversations where we're all on video together, and the conversations are absolutely mind-blowing. It's unbelievable. Whew. It's bringing up some emotion for me. Okay. Here we go. I got to put this up. I too have been melting down into separation. Am I not good enough? Swimming in stage one. Oh, oh, it is so darn. Okay, so the reason why Rabbi Kalish is saying this is because this is the focus of of my my confessions of my journal, my letter to the community today. This the gifts that have been delivered to me in my experiences in stage one. It's been really illuminating. It's been hard. I won't pretend it hasn't been difficult emotionally. You know, when that disempowered stuff gets stirred up, there is the there is the battle between good and evil, and oh, so I I've got the right perspective. I need to go. Oh my goodness, it's so compelling. It is so seductive. It offers so many profound gifts. What an extraordinary gift we are receiving universally. Almost nearly all of us all around the planet. Isn't that amazing? All at one time. Here's Julie. Oh, yes, me too, for days. I am so relieved to hear I was not the only one falling from grace, but perhaps deeper into it. Yes, that's right. The it's so beautiful. Not falling from grace, falling deeper into it, because in separation, eventually we discover there is God. God is everywhere. God is in victim consciousness. We just don't think God is there, or God has forgotten about us, or God's got rules, or whatever. Barbara's saying, when I am at war with myself, I have to ask, why do I keep being saved just to suffer? Yes. Yeah, caught in the drama triangle, right? These 3 points. Caught in the drama triangle. There's the victim or the perpetrator, the victim, and the rescuer. And guess what? You step into that, you play all 3 roles. All 3 things are going on. And where is the drama triangle in terms of stages of consciousness? It's sitting right there in stage 1. It's an illusory dynamic. We do it to try to find power over other people, but we can't have any power over other people. It explains violence in a way and movements involving violence. It also explains how we can move into an empowered state by taking responsibility, and how that movement from empowered separate to whole separate can happen by letting go of control. It's so, for me, it's meaningful. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for being here. If you're not currently subscribed, I invite you to do that. Click the bell to be notified. If the video resonates with you, I invite you to give it a thumbs up. Share it if you'd like to. If there are other people you think would appreciate or enjoy the experience or get something from it, I'd love for you to share the video. Please comment. Comment here, as so many have during the live video. Comment below afterwards. I'll interact with you there. I really am grateful for this opportunity to sit with you, to resonate. It's fun to talk and explore with words. It's even more extraordinary from my perspective to sit in that deeper space and just drop words. Really incredible. Okay, for now, I invite you to return the universal plug. I'll do the same as I begin bringing this transmission to a close. Just deep expression of love and appreciation for your presence in the world and here, and for all the aspects of this glorious developmental journey in consciousness that we are all endeavoring, and for all of the gifts those explorations are delivering to us and through us. Until we're together again next week, same time, another group session, and all the other ways that are available for us to be connected, not just in video, but in the community and beyond. Until then, peace.